Interesting. Interesting. What is it that's so interesting? I'm just reading a little book. I'm working my way through your assignments, and that's always an interesting process. It takes forever. I'll be honest with you, it does take a long time, but I feel it's a privilege that I get to have a look at your work, right? I mean, it's not something I take lightly, and that's mostly why it does take a while to get done. That said, I always like to take a little break, so I'll generally mark 10 or 15 assignments, have a break for a few minutes, pick up a book, open a page, and I picked up this one on the Human Condition by Eric Hoffer. It's a great little book, and his 78th idea, just a bunch of ideas, that's all he really has, it's just little separate ideas in the book. And he wrote down that people who cannot grow want to leap. They want shortcuts to fame, fortune and happiness. And I thought about that. Who is it that can't grow? But of course, that's what we're trying to do in this unit, isn't it? We're trying to grow. So here's my challenge to you. We've got about 4 weeks to go across the semester, and you've got one more piece of assessment to do, which is a replica of what you've just done, but I want you to take it down to an even deeper level. Not just section 1, but definitely section 2. So when you get your feedback from me for this one, you'll see for a lot of people, I suspect, looking at what I've marked so far, that the process of using why hasn't really sunk in terms of being comfortable in using it, right? So I'm going to run a few Zoom sessions over the next few weeks, okay, where people can come along and just have a bit of a chat or set up the computer and we'll just run through that whole process, right? And see if we can nail it, right? See if we can get you those extra marks that you might have lost this time around because you haven't used it, okay? That I think is the biggest challenge for you guys going forward here. We've got a unit where we only meet each other 3 times. You've got all these other competing pressures in your life, right? You've got your work, you've got your social life, you've got other units, and other stuff happening in your life, right? And yet, we've got this other thing happening at the end of week 12, and I want your group to come together, and I want you to keep pulling things apart and trying to explore them. Some of your groups will do that naturally. Some of your groups will we're all sort of over each other. I'm not sure there's anything else much we can do here. That's entirely a decision for you guys, right? But I am looking for you to talk about how your group has gone through this and how you've agreed, disagreed, been inspired, found new ways to think about things. So my message in this online shoot is to hang in there. Hang in there with your group members. Hang in there thinking about what's around you, the environment that's around you. How do you relate to it? Why do you relate to it the way you do? If you're missing things when you walk up and down the street, is it just because other things are more important to you? But does it mean those things are any less there? Right? They're still there, right? And I think that's the big challenge, and that's what I'm trying to help you to understand through this unit. I go back to that quote. People who cannot grow want to leap. They want shortcuts to fame, fortune, and happiness. Now my dog, this little one here, this is Russie, right? She doesn't have a huge amount of expectations in life. She really just wants to be fed in the morning. She wants to be walked. Well, there's that word. She wants to be walked in the afternoons. And she wants to be generally cared for, right? She doesn't need to grow. She's had her full size. And mentally, she may just stay a very, very happy companion for us all in the house and not showing any huge sense of moving forward cognitively. You guys don't have that good fortune. The world requires of you that you progress. Now, unless you want the shortcuts and you want all this happiness and fame to come your way just by chance, it's going to happen because you understand who you are. It's going to happen because you understand the nature of the surrounds that you're in, and therefore you're able to act accordingly. So there's the challenge for you, right? My prediction is that the quality of the work that I get in your week 12 submission will be pretty closely connected to those of you who actually sit back and think, what is this unit about? What is it that Colin actually wants us to do, right? Because he stopped giving us stuff, but he wants us to keep going back to it And he wants us to keep finding ways to reuse it and to go deeper. Much, much deeper. So that when we get to week 12, we can step back from it and say, you know what? I've actually had a chance. I've actually had a chance to take a breath in a unit, whether I've taken that chance or not, and to think about how these theoretical bases, environmental interaction framework, how that can help me to make sense of what's outside. I've also had a chance in a safe environment to ask myself, why? Why do I believe something? Why do I feel something? And to continually go through that process. Now, I read one assignment today and it was a joy to read because I got full marks for the reflection process. The first word after the why in every case was because. When I was a young kid growing up, I had some best friends, still are best friends, who came from Victoria, and they spoke differently, right? Because they had different ways of talking. And every time you'd say something, they'd just say, because. So why are you going there today? Because. And it used to drive me nuts, right? It used to drive me insane. I said, what do you mean because? Because of what? I couldn't even understand what they were saying, and I don't think they could either. They were just saying it because that's what you used to do, right? But I want to hear the word because now. I want to hear you guys exploring your thinking and thinking to yourself, why? Why is that? So between now and then, before you put pen to paper, when you look at that final primary question and you work your way through the 7 supporting questions, start practicing. Start practicing. Asking yourself why. Why am I tired? Why do I feel this way? Why am I excited? Why am I doing this? Why do I not care about that? Why don't I enjoy this? And try to answer the question with a because. Because. And when you've said that, ask yourself why again. And just that little mental exercise of preparing yourself for getting ready for what's to come at the end of the semester is going to hold you in fantastic stead, right? Because now it's going to start to become second nature. And what's happening when we do that? We're becoming very mindful of what's actually happening in our own thinking, how we relate to particular circumstances and surrounds. That's what we want to be doing in the unit, okay? That's the type of stuff we're going to be talking about in the last workshop, to actually see whether all of this process has had the desired effect that it was designed to have, okay? Now, I'm not a magician. You're not perfect. None of us are. So it's going to be a bit hit and miss, right? Because while this format suits some of you beautifully, it seems to not suit some of you, as well, right? And I'm mindful of that. And that's why we have a lot of choice in the unit. So, let's see where we get to. But think about what Hoffa said, all right? If you want to grow, then you're going to have to do something to enable that process to happen. Otherwise, you're just taking a bet on luck, good fortune. And I don't wish that upon any of you. All the best.